All right, guys, welcome back to the show. If you're like me and you're still processing what we just saw 24 hours ago, a little bit more than 24 hours ago now, with John Cena turning heel and changing the landscape of WWE, not just right now, but forever, it feels like, because there has not been such a monumental heel turn, I think, in history. This gets comparisons with essentially Hulk Hogan joining the NWO when he joined WCW. It's that big. There's nothing really in recent memory. I was thinking of other heel turns. Maybe Seth Rollins when he turned his back against the Shield. Maybe Roman Reigns when he first embraced the first version of the Tribal Chief character. But this to me is even bigger. So in this video, guys, now I've had some time to let it process, and I hope you guys have too. I'm going to talk to you guys about 5 reasons why I think John Cena turned heel and why it makes sense, and also maybe why it doesn't make sense. So there's a little question mark around that one, but I'm going to talk about that in this video and keep it from a perspective of both storyline, so both in kayfabe, but also in terms of the WWE as a business and, what this means for the WWE and the WrestleMania product coming up in WrestleMania 41. So let me get straight into it. Number 1 is taking the title off Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes is the world champion, a great world champion. I'm a big fan of Cody Rhodes and what he's done with the title. But one thing that's becoming more and more difficult is to see Cody without a title. And how will Cody lose the title? This is a challenge that the WWE have got themselves into. How do you get Cody to lose the title and then really, put a good story behind it? The way he won the title had such a strong story behind it. So how do you rival that? How do you make it so he just doesn't lose it on a random night of, WrestleMania? How do you sort of get it to that level where it's believable that he can lose it? Because one concern that we had going in before last night, essentially, before Elimination Chamber in 2025, was WrestleMania might become a little bit stale, especially with Cody Rhodes and what his sort of title and his sort of match means. Because, if it's John Cena, as we saw, then we are going to get a face versus a face. That's a good match, but is it a great match for WrestleMania? I kind of don't think so. And I talked about that a little bit with my tag team partner on this channel, Jonathan, who is also a big part of the channel. This is Wrestling Mates, and he's the other mate on this channel, and we'll be talking about this a lot more in upcoming videos. But that's sort of one reason why I think in order for the WWE, for them to take the title off Cody Rhodes, something really substantial had to happen. And now they have John Cena turning heel, not just John Cena turning heel, but John Cena aligning himself with The Rock and continuing the final boss character. It's pretty incredible. I think that this is just going to do a lot for, WrestleMania 41. How much The Rock is going to be involved after WrestleMania 41? I'm not too sure. But in terms of the build-up, what we have time for now, it's absolutely perfect. It's really going to build us to eventually Cody Rhodes, I believe, losing the title. I can't really foresee Cody Rhodes keeping the title unless he does something like he gets help from some of the other allies like he did last time, or, this time The Rock does get one over him and he actually does get the title back. Now, what does this mean for the bloodline? I'm not so sure. Does Roman Reigns get involved and keep The Rock away from, the title picture for now or something like that, so he can't help John Cena? I'm not sure. But this also does explore, what it does so well is it explores the whole final boss character with something which I feel like they tapped into a little bit last year, but they didn't really go all the way in. And that was the TKO board, the corporate version of The Rock. The final boss, he was more of an on-screen presence. He was a wrestler last year. This year, my suspicion is The Rock is not going to be wrestling, and that's why he was sort of after somebody to be his champion. And he found it in, of all people, his Hollywood mate, John Cena. So it continues that storyline. We get more character development from The Rock, and we get to see another side of him, which they tapped into a little bit, but they're going to explore a lot more now. So I think one of the reasons why John Cena turned heel was to take the title off Cody Rhodes, and that's number 1. Number 2, I think, and it's pretty similar. In fact, the first, I think 2 or 3, I think are pretty similar for my points here. But number 2 is essentially one heel, one babyface at WrestleMania. So we know the one match that has already been scheduled for WrestleMania is Gunther versus Jey Uso. And Jey Uso, I feel like, has a 90% chance of winning the title, because if he doesn't win the title, then I'm going to be really confused. I feel like if they don't do that, then Jey Uso is going to be buried so deep, it's going to be hard for anyone to really take him that seriously, considering the fact that he's lost a lot to Gunther before. It's been a lot. We had Saturday Night Live. We had a match or two before that, I believe, on Raw. I'm sure there was a King of the Ring match as well, which I think he lost in that match as well. So it's been a lot that he's lost to Gunther recently. So the story for Jey Uso, the feel-good story, is going to be him taking the title off Gunther, and that's a feel-good moment. On the other side, the feel-bad moment, I feel, is going to be, as I mentioned before, Cody Rhodes losing the title and also losing it in a really bad way, I feel, with The Rock getting involved. So that's the other reason why I feel like this makes a lot more sense for the WWE to have a match at WrestleMania 41 with both one heel winner and one babyface winner, and they've accomplished that through this, because if they didn't turn John Cena heel and he won the Elimination Chamber, we'd have a face versus face match, which, yeah, as I said before, is not going to be that great. So that's number 2. Number 3 is quoting John Cena, "What's best for business?" So this one has a question mark next to it, because I really do question, is this really what's best for business? Now, I want to look at this from the WWE perspective a little bit more, but not really to do with WrestleMania, but more just to do with John Cena and his legacy. John Cena, one of the most popular wrestlers of all time. Like, if you just, objectively ask anybody who are the top 4 wrestlers, who's on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, John Cena's name would probably come up around, I'd say, 70 to 80% of the time, I would think. That's how much he's done for the business, and that's how much he means to the business. So in saying that, like, John Cena is one of the highest sellers of merchandise in wrestling till this day. Like, he sells a lot of merch. He's still up there, and people will still buy John Cena merchandise, whether it's the hats, the shirts, the wristbands, whatever it might be. Like, people will buy John Cena merch. So does this tarnish that in any way? John Cena himself goes on and talks about how much he values merch sales, almost not above everything, but above a lot, which is really, really interesting. And we get to see that played out through a lot of wrestlers. We saw when Roman Reigns came back as the OTC, he came back with the OTC shirt, like just selling from day one. So it means a lot. So is this going to compromise some of the merchandise sales from John Cena? Maybe. But in the long run, I feel like it's not going to be too big a deal, because even though his merch sales might go down a little bit through this run of his, that might not, but maybe they will, just because he's a heel. But who knows, maybe in the long run, I feel like John Cena is that kind of wrestler where his legacy is so great that he will make up for that just because he's John Cena. Like, people still buy Steve Austin shirts, people still buy NWO shirts. I don't think Hulk Hogan sells too much anymore just because of his recent antics. But in general, legacy wrestlers will always get more merch and more stuff sold because of their name and how much they mean to the business, how much people like me who grew up watching John Cena are going to appreciate him. So I feel like that is one reason. So best for the business, I feel like it is, because now the intrigue is so much more in WrestleMania that I feel like, everything that we had sort of seen before, what we were expecting to have in WrestleMania 41 has just been heightened up so much through this one moment that it changes what WrestleMania 41 means. In just one moment, they've changed everything, which leads me on to number 4, which is going to be basically reaching the heights of WrestleMania 40. Now, WrestleMania 40 goes down as one of the best WrestleManias, I think, of all time. It was so amazing, and just, I remember rewatching it once when they were putting some of the videos on YouTube. I went back and rewatched WrestleMania 40, and I watched the Cody Rhodes and I watched the main event for Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and just how spectacular that was. So, the WWE have a lot to sort of live up to. The Netflix deal has recently come around, and, they don't really want to disappoint anybody by having a lackluster WrestleMania 41. And that's what, just admittedly, the wrestling community is very critical. Like there's very high, especially now in Triple H's era. Like, the expectations are so high. Almost on every night we're expecting something great, which it really wasn't like that back when I was watching wrestling in the Attitude Era and otherwise. It just was not this high. So to have like WrestleMania 41 and not meet anywhere near like the expectations of what we got in WrestleMania 40 would be really concerning. So I feel like the reason they turned John Cena heel was almost like they had to. Because if they didn't, then we would probably get a lackluster Cody Rhodes main event, which is the main event, which is, night 2 main event, along with Gunther versus Jey Uso, which I also consider a main event. So I feel like, they really had to do something to get those expectations up, and they really did that. I feel almost last minute. This is the last PLE that we have before WrestleMania, and they pulled the trigger now. So they really left it to last minute, but now I feel like because they did this, the expectations have just got. I'm really excited for WrestleMania in a way that I wasn't about 24 hours ago or just before John Cena turned heel. So that's sort of 4 reasons. The last one I have is also to do with John Cena and his sort of legacy as to who he is. And that is essentially John Cena finally putting someone over. Now, this one's a bit controversial, but John Cena during his last run here, one of the main criticisms and something that they've really struggled to do with John Cena as a face as of late is essentially put other people over. Like we had Austin Theory and we have Solo Sikoa. The 2 main feuds he's had, I think, as of late. And both of them have been honestly pretty disappointing in terms of elevating characters. Solo Sikoa's character was brought up more by his presence as the new tribal chief. So that was more to do with Roman Reigns and the continued storyline of that. But if you remember, there was a big match between Solo Sikoa and John Cena where he spiked him like 10 times. But that really did nothing for Solo's character. So it didn't mean anything. Like he beat him and that's meant to be a big deal, but it really didn't mean much at all to Solo Sikoa as a wrestler because he went on and lost like 100 matches after that. Austin Theory, similarly, like he'll say it every now and then, I beat John Cena at WrestleMania, but Austin Theory can barely get a match on SmackDown. So, it's not like his character or he hasn't really elevated much by beating John Cena. It's actually done nothing for him. So, in saying that, maybe it's really difficult to just go over. Maybe John Cena can't really put people over the way he has as a face, and he has to do it in a different way, and that is by turning heel. So who knows? By the end of his retirement tour, he might turn face again. Who really knows what's going to happen? But if he does, he'll be a heel for a while now, at least until WrestleMania, and for quite a bit after. I know there's a big SummerSlam 2 nights that they've sort of scheduled for this year. So maybe that's the time when he puts someone else over, maybe the next up-and-coming face, someone that they build up until then, and they get their chance to shine by beating a heel John Cena in a very, unpredictable way or something like that. So maybe that's one way they can do it like that now because they've tried with face John Cena and that's failed. So this is another attempt. But that's 5 reasons why I think John Cena has turned heel. I'm sure there's a lot more. So I'd love to know in the comment section if you guys have listened this far. I appreciate you guys so much. I really, really mean that. We're a really small channel, so we're really trying to get our foot off the ground here. So if you have listened this far, then I'd really appreciate a subscription to our channel. A like on the video as well would really help. YouTube is always going to be a bit difficult whenever you're starting off. So, that's where we're at. But again, guys, thank you so much for listening, and I will speak to you guys on the next one.